Okay, hi everyone. The fly I'm going to do today is the sand flea, which is it's sort of like a shrimpy organism that lives on the flats. It's tiny, can vary from a couple of millimeters long to about an inch long, and the whiting and bream quite often go and eat those as they come up out of the sand. Pretty straightforward to tie. The hook is a grub hook, so in this case it's a size 10 Daiichi 1130, but any grub hook, Daiichi does an 1120. Mustard have similar patterns, as does TMCO. So most manufacturers will have a grub hook, usually used to tie scuds or worm patterns. So that's that. The thread I'm using is a pink. In this case it's an ice thread, but you could also use the Danville's flat waxed in the shrimp pink. I'm using a little bit of dubbing. Alright, so that's just tan dubbing. Eyes are just your ordinary everyday bead chain. Okay, there's two versions of the fly. This version with the bead chain eyes to get it down towards the bottom, or if you're fishing in a little bit of current, and then there's the version without the eyes, which is basically a little bit of lead just wrapped around the shank and then dubbed over the top. Then the wing itself is EP fibre, right? In this case EP fibre tan, and a little bit of Krystal flash, just one strand of Krystal flash folded back. So the first step is to put the bead chain eyes on down towards the eye of the hook, so a few wraps on that. The reason I use the mono is it's thinner than the Danville's, easier to work with, especially when you're using smaller hooks. Alright, so we just get that on there and straighten them up. So that's that. So once the eyes are on, you take the thread to the back of the hook, and then we're just going to dub the body a little bit. Alright, so just pull off a bit of dubbing. Any dubbing will do, whatever you've got, as long as you can get it relatively tight. Alright, so you want it to be tight like that, and all we're going to do is just basically dub a bit of a body all the way up the hook. So you don't want the dubbing to be bulging out all over the place like you would for an insect. Keep going. So, this fly has been effective for quite a few people on whiting, fished on a floating line in water that's probably only about ankle deep, and sight casting to fish. You can see what I'm trying to do there. I'm trying to taper the body up towards the eyes, so you've got a thicker underbelly. Sand fleas are sort of an odd shape, has a long tail but a fat body down to the eyes, so that's what we're trying to basically emulate here with this dubbing. Alright, so as you can see there, the body. Now what I do is I do try to tease that out a little bit underneath so it represents the legs of the sand flea, so you can see that. Okay, we're turning it over. Alright, the next thing is I'm going to just take a little bit of Krystal flash. Alright, and I'm just going to run that up under my thread, across to there, wind that in, pull that back on itself, so it's on both sides of the hook, tie that in, get it so it's about the same length, because you don't want too long a tail. So that's the Krystal flash in. Then I'm just going to take my EP fibre and do a similar thing. So I'm going to measure it up, measure and then cut. taper it, attach up under the thread, bring it into the middle, tie that in, push it back on itself, then tie that in. And form a little bit of a head there, and that's pretty much it. That's the sand flea. So it's very much like tying a Crazy Charlie, just using slightly different materials, and obviously a damn sight smaller than you would normally tie a Crazy Charlie. And then I just put a little bit of clear glue on the thread just to give it some protection. Hit it with the torch. That's it. Done. Fairly straightforward, easy thing to tie. Looks pretty good in the water. Most of the dubbings you get are going to go slightly transparent as well, which is what you want. So anyway, that's it. Enjoy. Any questions, let me know. Thanks guys.